So after they had the little conversation with the kid, they knock on the door. They get into this brother's house right here, and he's a bad mother. Shut your mouth. This is Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah.
And we find out that once Captain was on ice and they started trying to recreate the super soldier serum, they tested this brother. Not only did they test it on him, he was the one out of like 300 that survived. And when he survived, they sent him to beat up on Bucky to the point where he said he tore his arm in half. And for those of you guys wondering, yes, this was in the comics. This is Isaiah in the comics. And this is a caption from the comics in 1979. This is a caption. Juiced up. And he was the only one that survived, and he was whipping ass and taking names with that super soldier serum. B. Avery, speak to this scene because I really enjoyed this scene.
Yeah, man, I really enjoyed it too. It was a highlight of the episode for me, and I like how he threw that into the wall there, just demonstrating how strong he is.
Sam's face.
Yeah. Man.
Sam's like, I don't want no parts. Oh man, I don't want no parts of that. And Moochie, what you doing, Moochie? Moochella.
Oh, Moochie in the house.
Oh my goodness, Mooch, you were just up here last night. You ain't supposed to be spending no money today. What in the world? Mooch. Okay, so she's obviously asking for a video, and that's B. Avery's video. But let me give you something else to say thank you. That might make you laugh. Let's see here. Let me go with this one. This one always seems to make you guys laugh a little bit.
Not want a pet because they're spiky.
Oh my God.
Now.
So tired.
Oh man.
But
get back to it, B. Avery.
Yeah, it was a wonderful scene. It really broke my heart too.
Yeah.
Because he was like, he was letting them have it. Because the only reason he wanted to see Bucky is like, I want to know if he was gonna kill me. I have nothing else to live for, or I just want to see your arm. He's like, you know what, they did to me for being a hero. I didn't get a museum named after me, statues. I was a lab rat for 30 years, and it reminded me of the Tuskegee syphilis experiment.
Yeah,
just like, hey, let's you just take these black bodies that are just bodies, and let's see what we can do with it. I also thought about Lovecraft Country as well because they did a little bit of that in there as well. But it's just horrible. I mean, he was a lab rat for decades. And then he was as good as Steve Rodgers or slightly below him, but treated the polar opposite. I mean, look where he's at right now. He's in a rundown home that's going to fall apart and can barely speak, So it was a wonderful scene. Like, look at his body posture. Like you mother effer. You have the audacity, to feel the way you feel and to say the things you do say. You have no idea what I've been through.
None.
So yeah, it was very touching. It was very touching.
Yeah, and not to mention they locked him up. Like I said, they ran experiments on him, and he didn't get no notoriety, no nothing. And they had a great conversation about Bucky saying, "I'm not a killer anymore," and he went in on Bucky.
Choose that? What?
Yeah, he went in on Bucky. So Larry, how did you feel about it?
Well, I think this scene was important the way that Sam was looking at him because, like we talked about earlier, Sam hasn't decided, to take the mantle up yet. And somebody in the comment section was asking, how is Sam why would he want to represent America as a black man? And he's looking at this again. He's looking at this guy and saying, oh, this is what they did to him. This dude was a Captain America. He was out there fighting for America, and this is how they treated him. They locked him up for 30 years, and now he's up here as an old man living in a rundown part of Baltimore. And so I get it. Sam's like, do I even want to do this? Do I want this? So
yeah.
I don't know. Part of me wonders if they're going to come back to him. If they're going to come back to him for something.
That's what I was going to shoot to E-Man. E-Man, I got a feeling they're going to need him or they're going to have to use him. Do you think we're going to see him again at some point in time?
I mean, I hope so, right? Because what I took away from this was this was Sam's wake-up call. Like I said earlier, he's been trying to avoid the issue of race in terms of that, being a factor, in certain things. And this was an undeniable situation. Like, he wasn't thinking about race and the shield, but I think he will now. I wonder if he would have actually ever given up the shield had he known about this. If he had known about Isaiah before, Cap gave him the shield, I wonder if he would have been like, oh wait, maybe he still would have given it up for different reasons. Like, I don't want to be the next Isaiah, or maybe he would have been like, oh, okay, like I got to take this a different route. So, that I think was more informative for Sam, hence why he was so upset. Hence why he was like, man, he's been in here for decades and nobody knew, because now Sam has got to think about, like, man, I see how they've been uplifting Steve Rodgers. I see how they've uplifted this new cat, this off-brand market dude, but the way that they just did Isaiah, for what? Testing stuff on him and hiding the history, which, by the way, is nothing new in American education. People grew up; they got baseball cards of Steve Rodgers. You better believe that he is part of American history. For little kids and stuff. But they hid all this Black history with Isaiah Bradley, and I really do believe that. Initially Sam was naive. He trusted the government. He trusted the government enough to give the shield back. If he had known that, man, the government was this thirsty for super soldiers, they was this conniving to hide it as well from the public for this long, I never would have given them the shield back.
Exactly.
Because I don't trust these dudes.
Exactly.
I don't trust these people. So, it's one of those things where it's kind of like, man, like, I'm glad that this is here, but I need Sam to have another one-on-one conversation with Isaiah. Because sometimes you got to talk to the elders. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you need to have that conversation, because right now the attention was too divided. Isaiah was like pissed off at Bucky because, they were like enemies at the time, and that's just bringing up postpartum, stress or whatever, post-traumatic stress, I should say. But I need Sam and Isaiah to have a conversation, because if I'm not mistaken, they did in the comics. In the comics, Isaiah was worse. What we're seeing here is actually a better representation, a more healthy representation, because he was messed up. He was mentally impaired in the comics. They really, what y'all saw here was easy. He just got old.
Yeah.
He's clearly still strong. He just got old. But I'm talking about, like, the man was barely able to put two words together, and he was, drooling and stuff on himself.
The serum messed him up.
The serum messed him up. Yeah.
You know what I think was one thing I thought was kind of cool about this scene too was it was basically them showing Bucky and saying, "Look, man, I'm an ally." The government's hiding this history, and they're hiding. It's not just a government cover up. It's actually your history that you should know, and I'm going to take it over here and show it to you. And I think they're trying to show Bucky as an ally. Not just as some random dude trying to get this superhero team back together, but just an actual true ally.
I mean, that maybe, I need Bucky to speak up more then, if that's the case. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying I need him to say stuff like that and acknowledge it a little bit more, like, hey man, I need, the reason why I brought you to Isaiah is because of it. Because honestly, I think that's going over a lot of white people's heads. Like, I don't think people that, are not familiar with the racial component of this are thinking about Bucky's actions and how it could be an allyship type of move. I don't think that point is driven hard enough, and it could easily be lost. So I'm gonna need this show. I know that the director and the writer was kind of like, yeah, we raise stuff, but we don't answer questions. And I'm like, there are some things you do need to talk about, because this country already has an embedded knee-jerk reaction to avoid the conversation of race. So simply bringing it up doesn't do anything, because the country has had 400 plus years of building up a self-conscious defense, right? Even when it's plain as day. So sometimes you do need to let the people know straight up.
You got to have that conversation, man. You got to have that conversation. Now, B. Avery, I'm gonna come back to you. This right here is the young man that came to the door. This is Elijah Bradley, and we know the MCU is trying to set up the Young Avengers. And guess what? He's a Young Avenger. He's Patriot in the Young Avengers. This brother right here. So that was a little connection that they had with the nephew up in the picture. But then immediately after we get done with them, that's when this damn scene happens, man. And let me just tell y'all guys a story. My best friend, one of my best friends, best man at my wedding is a white dude from West Virginia. Me and him, we've been to E3 together. We've been to one of these D21 events. We've been to all kinds of stuff, and we always go fly together. We always do a little trip like that where we're doing something that's geeky and comical, all right? This boy has been pulled over by the police 4 times in his life. 4. 3 of those times was guess with who?
You.
Me. 3.
Why you do that to him, man?
I mean,
why you do that?
That's the price you pay for being black in America.
In a day.
Unfortunately, that's the price you pay for being black in America. And you know, he'll come up here and tell you he has no idea why they was messing with us. And I had to explain to him, look, brother, I mean, a black dude hanging with a country white dude, they automatically think something is up, you know. So, you know, that stood out to him that in his lifetime, he's almost 40. He's been pulled by the police 4 times, 3 times with me, and 1 time don't count because it was his mother that got pulled. That'll let you set something. But I'm gonna go to you first, Larry. How do you feel about this scene right here?
I mean, they're obviously trying in a very obvious way to set up this whole dynamic, showing that Sam, even though he's an Avenger, is still, in the eyes of white people, just another nigga, excuse my French, because this is the second time this has happened. It happened to him in the bank, where they were basically like, I kind of recognize you. What's the deal? And then, you know, they still treated him like nothing. And then it's the same here. They just treated him like he was just any old rando. And then the dude went and told him, oh, you know, he's an Avenger. These are Avengers. And so, I mean, they're setting it up where they're letting us know, yes, Sam may be an Avenger, but when he's not running around with his wings on, he's just another nigga.
Avery, I'm going to give it to you, B. Avery. Give me your thoughts on this scene.
Yeah, this scene was, I mean, I know what they were trying to do, but it was just poorly executed. Like, the first time I saw it, I rolled my eyes. The second time, it went down easier. It just seemed forced to me. Like, it was just really elementary. Just like, is he bothering you? I mean, we know that happens, but they just could have fleshed it out a bit more to me. It just didn't seem natural. And that sounds weird that I'm saying that this didn't seem natural. It shouldn't be natural at all, but it is. And this just seemed like they were just throwing it in there so they can be like, ooh, we're dealing with some black stuff. You know,
what they should have said is, what are you doing in this neighborhood? Are you here to buy drugs? That's what they should have been saying to Bucky.
No.
Why are you here?
No, they
shouldn't be here.
I mean, like, I'm kind of with B. Avery on this. Like, you know, all this needed. Because here's one question. First question I'm sitting here thinking is, like, who called the police? You know, like, you in a black neighborhood, most people are minding their business. Like, they're not about to, it's not like you in a white suburban neighborhood, you know, an affluent neighborhood where Karens are like on patrol, you know? So I'm sitting here thinking like, okay, so the other implication is that there's over policing in minority black and brown communities. Like, there's just police every 5 minutes. I've had that, you know, when I lived in the hood of Chicago for like just a couple years, and there was police like literally around the clock.
Let me see the bullet wounds. Let me see the bullet wounds.
No, bro, I stayed inside. Okay. Like I said, minding my own business. Okay.
If you guys want to see his bullet wounds, you got to go to his OnlyFans page.
But no, I mean, like, all this needed was maybe a couple scenes, maybe like a quick shot of the police just patrolling, just moving around. Like, as they walking through the neighborhood, just show us that the police are a presence already there. And that way there's less room for us to be like, how did this happen? Where's this going? Because clearly police just over policing, suspecting anyone black or brown of something. And then when you see like a potential disturbance, now it makes a little more sense. So I kind of put this fault on the director, not so much the writing, because again, we knew what it was trying to do. We understood that it was trying to show the implication of racial bias and so on and so forth, especially with Sam. But the fact that you just like popped them up out of nowhere, you know, and again, this was like something that was like, how did we go from Isaiah to just this? You know, like it was a bad transition. It was
Yeah,
just
with no
you can tell
transition.
there's a division in the creative department between the writer and director. It's just not really, you know, melding together the way I wanted to. So
yeah.